Welcome back to another episode of Anthony Points Out the Slow Decline of Something of Mild Importance and then makes no attempt to provide a solution for that situation at all. Today, I'm going to be talking about something that not only has no effect on your life, but is also entirely subjective. Basically, it's going to be like your high school English class all over again, except now I'm the one pretending like I know what I'm talking about. If there's two things I love in this world, it's movies and that clip of a CRT TV crushing the skull of a child-sized crash dummy. But I'd say art is a close second. It should come as no surprise to anybody who watches this channel that I'm a pretty big fan of art, and anyone who listens to the podcast would know that I can be pretty passionate about movies.
And then they cut to GoPro footage at like 20 frames per second. It's not color corrected. It looks terrible.
And nowhere better do these two interests meet than with movie posters. There's just something so incredibly special about movie posters. They're an opportunity to create an artistic, visually entertaining piece that encapsulates the tones and themes of the movie they're made for. You can look at a movie poster and immediately be reminded why you love that movie. Notice how Dinner for Schmucks isn't on here. In case you haven't noticed, movie posters have gotten lazier and lazier in recent years. Each new poster seems to be copying the last, except they somehow always end up looking worse than the one they were trying to copy. It's like the studios behind these things are playing a game of telephone with tin cans. New movie posters just seem to lack the magic and creativity that older ones had. Like, in the past, if you were making a movie about a deranged psychopath, you'd get something like a fantastic, hand-painted portrait that utilizes strong shadows and reality-defying physics to create a sinister and unnatural atmosphere. Now you'd get Unhinged. Do you get it? It's in red because he's evil, and the N is backwards because... Jesus Christ. At first, you'd think it's not that hard to make a movie poster, but then you'd see the poster for X-Men First Class and realize that it apparently is that hard. A movie poster is meant to do a few things. It's supposed to grab your attention and tell you what kind of movie it is, who's in it, and what the basic story might be about. I wish I could say X-Men's poster does none of that, but it does a pretty good job at conveying that James McAvoy's in Sir Patrick Stewart's crotch, so credit where credit's due. Older movies took all this stuff really seriously and generally did a pretty good job of it. Like, look at the original Shaggy Dog poster from 1959. You look at this poster and you immediately know what this is about. It's a funny movie about a dog that does somewhat human things. It's such a lighthearted and enjoyable poster. So what the fuck were they thinking when they made the remakes poster? This is horrifying. Like, the font and the white background make you think this is a fun movie, but then you realize you're looking into the eyes of a deranged Tim Allen trapped inside of an English sheepdog. So I guess just regular Tim Allen trapped inside of a sheepdog, but still. The original's poster is obviously superior, considering it doesn't look like something Danebo would have made in 2007, but that's not to say that the poster is perfect, though. It did what most posters of this era did. It kind of just threw random pictures up on a colored background and filled the rest of the space in with the actors' names in giant font. Once you take those Builder-era nostalgia goggles off, you realize you're essentially looking at a PowerPoint presentation from a middle schooler who ran out of information. That said, the art is all clearly hand-drawn, which is something that I adore. You didn't have digital art yet, so a lot of these old posters have this nice authentic charm to them. From this era, you could get stuff like Godzilla, 12 Angry Men, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. But you could also get Dr. Dracula's Living Nightmares. Why does this skeleton look like he lost his mom at the grocery store? You alright there, buddy? This sort of hand-drawn style poster was used for decades and really evolved with time. If you're looking for some of the most memorable examples, look no further than Drew Struzan, the artist behind the posters of iconic films like The Thing, Blade Runner, Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, and A Muppet's Christmas Carol. Struzan has this incredible ability to capture the intricate details of the actors' faces, but also a genuine sense of magic and wonder. That's why directors like Spielberg and Lucas used them so frequently. A good poster wasn't just one that was realistic, though. Some other fantastic posters from this time were simply just creative or well-designed. Like the original Halloween poster, where the knife blends in as one of the ridges on a pumpkin. The Alien poster is also fantastic. I've got nothing to say on that one. More than half of these movies have had remakes or sequels within the last 2 decades. These are their posters. I think this is the only time I'm ever gonna say this, but Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is by far the best one. Disney, what is this? Did you give a toddler a box of crayons and ask him to draw the pale orc from memory? Struzan's still alive and kicking it. He probably would have done this. Obviously, these posters are significantly worse, but why? You might think that the problem is because movie posters now use photos instead of painted art, but I just don't think that's true. Pulp Fiction has an incredibly iconic poster, and it really is just a regular photo of Uma Thurman pre-OD. Movie posters can be incredibly good still, but the thing is, they don't really need to be anymore. Back in the day, when you went to the movie store to go pick out a movie, you couldn't really watch the trailer before deciding on what to rent. All you had to go off of was the movie's cover itself. Posters and cover art had to be significantly more interesting and eye-catching to increase the likelihood of you seeing the movie. But we live in an AB world. In the age of the internet, trailers released on platforms like YouTube drum up significantly more hype than a poster ever could, so you don't really have to put as much effort into the poster. It's not like you could use it for the DVD case either, because nobody buys those anymore, and it's a hell of a lot cheaper just to use stills from the movie for the Netflix thumbnail. Movie posters are getting worse because they just aren't as needed. I mean, why do something smart when you could just do a close-up of Matt Damon and throw some words over his face? It's just easier to make a basic poster that conforms to the precedents set by other movies. If you're a blockbuster action movie, you get a blue and orange color scheme. If you're a low-budget indie film with a bittersweet ending, you get minimalist yellow. I don't make the rules, that's just how it is. I think the worst part of all of this is that, with streaming services becoming the predominant way to experience cinema, movie posters may be becoming less important than ever. That's not to say that movie posters are done for, though. There are still good posters being released, and some studios are working really hard to keep them alive. Like, look at how nice the Baby Driver poster is, man. I can't think of a single issue I have with this poster. Wait, no, other than the sex pervert, I think Marvel has recently been doing a pretty good job at keeping the art of movie posters alive, too. Their earlier works kind of suck, sort of like their movies, but eventually really started to hit their stride, especially with the Ant-Man poster. I mean, what an exceptionally entertaining way to promote an acceptably entertaining movie. Phase 3 is where they really got their shit together, though, and discovered secondary colors. I mean, these are great and all, but for every Infinity War, there's a Far From Home. Is it really that fucking hard to get all the actors in the same room? Whatever happened to predictability? It's like the studios behind these things are making... This is such a dumb line. God.